My family is being severely impacted by my parents' biological daughter. Long, sad, and infuriating story. To start off, my parents, John and Kathy, have adopted 14 special needs kids who are both physically and mentally disabled. I was also adopted by them after doctors said I wouldn't be able to walk or talk, but I proved them wrong. However, 10 years ago, my parents, due to their old age, weren't able to take care of all of us on their own, so they hired some help. 3 years ago, after a couple of health complications with 2 of my older brothers, they required 24-hour care. My parents requested 24-hour nursing care from the state of Michigan for them, but the state said that to get the care, my parents would have to provide at least 6 hours of care each day. In their mid-60s, they weren't able to do so. The state then told my parents that if they wanted the 24-hour care, they would have to move out along with anyone under 18. So, my younger brother, who is autistic, and I had to move out. My parents would do anything to make sure their kids are happy, healthy, and well taken care of. After we moved out, my parents' biological daughter, Mindy, moved in to oversee the house. Mindy is in her late 40s, and things seem to be going fine. My parents sent Mindy money to pay the bills for the house and the vans for the kids. This money, given by the state, was meant to help take care of the kids. Fast forward to today. And now Mindy has turned manipulative and has embezzled over $20,000 over the past year and a half from my parents. This money was supposed to pay for transportation and to keep a roof over their heads. Now, the house is going into foreclosure. If the house is foreclosed on, my brothers and sisters will get split up and placed into nursing homes and group homes. This would devastate my parents, and it's sad and infuriating for me to watch someone, especially a family member, betray us for money. Mindy doesn't seem to care about her parents and adopted siblings who can't fend for themselves in the world. Now, we are left sitting and waiting, unsure of where to go from here.
My attempt at life. True story update. Sorry if this sounds bad, but I want to write something for people who are out there and have been through what I am going through now, so please read this. I was talking to a friend earlier because I realized I had a noose in my hand. I had her help me out, and together we both saved my life, although there were some complications. It's pretty hard to type right now because of the cut on my hand. It's a small one, but I felt so relieved making it. I just want to tell you, no matter what happens, there is something out there that needs you to make it better. There's a purpose for everyone, and don't argue that your purpose was to die, because it isn't. I am a bisexual 13-year-old male opera singer who has bad grades and not much to live for. When I first started singing, it was my escape. I loved doing it because it distracted me from reality. It kept me busy when I was sad. What I am trying to say is, find something or someone that takes your reality and throws it away. Because no matter who you are, you deserve to be happy. I am going to leave this post with something I wrote after I cut myself. Because I don't think when it happens, I don't think why I'm doing it, I don't think why I shouldn't, I don't think why I should. It just happens. It's like a dream. You feel like you experience it, but this time you do. And when you wake up, you face the consequences.
Gone. True story based on my friend today. I observed my mom on the phone, talking to a person whose voice I didn't recognize. And it hit me. All this time, and I still wouldn't face the facts. My mom set the phone down firmly, her voice full of sadness. She's gone. I shattered. Running to my room, I shut the door and fell onto the bed, burying my face in the pillow. My muffled screams weren't heard. Ever. But I still had to go to band practice. "I'm sorry, Mom," I said aloud to myself in the room. I cried. "Lauren," my mom said, opening my door a crack. I woke up from my dream. "Time to get up. It's 6 already." "Good morning, Mom," I said, yawning. She closed the door again. "What was that dream all about?" I murmured, scratching my head. I slowly got ready and went to the kitchen to eat breakfast. The phone rang. My mom picked it up. "Hello?" I looked at her longing face. 10 hours seemed to tick by, and yet she still didn't end the call, and then she finally did. "She's gone." I dropped my spoon into my cereal bowl, hearing a dull thud. "She's gone."
It tried to wake me up. I have always had sleep issues. Since I was a child, I've experienced sleep paralysis at least a handful of times each year. And outside of sleep paralysis, I often have issues with exploding head syndrome, EHS. At least once a month I experience something in that regard. But things changed on a low part of my life. I have suffered significantly from mental health, which increased the frequency of my sleepy paralysis and EHS. It got to the point of happening at least once a week, sometimes more. I took medication to try and alleviate the issue, but nothing changed. I'd say things got even worse. But that was barely just the start. I had always had an interest in the paranormal. I've been fascinated by the thought of the existence of things beyond our normal comprehension. Death in particular has never bothered me, at least before what happened. It was always nothing to worry about. But because of my issues and the lack of solutions, I decided to attempt contact with the spiritual world. My intention was to ask for a guardian angel, or, since I believed my issues were caused by paranormal entities, for the monsters to stop their actions. So, one day, a long time ago, I gathered up my resources and conducted a ritual that went nowhere. I attempted to contact anything that could possibly communicate with me, but I never got anywhere. Nothing ever contacted me. Or at least it's what I think. Because one very critical rule I never followed is that I never had anything to protect me from breaches in the ritual. I didn't really think it was something to worry about, be it salt circles or pendants. I always assumed that nothing would ever come out of skimming over these rules, but after a week of stopping my ritual attempts, as I did several, my sleep improved significantly. I managed to get full hours of sleep with no issues. This lasted for about 6 weeks, before, as soon as the 6th week ended, I suddenly came under a significant attack. I still remember the dream. Inside of it, I was talking to friends, and they were discussing and showing me information about a supposed paranormal entity that seemed to have reached our world and was kidnapping people en masse. The entity was very similar to those of Japanese folklore, called yurei, but a few major differences was that it had a completely void face, pitch black, and it was more amorphous than it was humanoid. It didn't have visible feet or hands, and its white, broken clothing flowed in the air, as it preferred floating, but it had been seen walking and even running. It also had significantly large claws, which it would use to drag people out of their beds and take them to who knows where. But I still recall watching a video showing the entity stalk and attempt to wake up one of its victims. I never got to see the end of the video, but the takeaway was that you had to keep your eyes shut and not look at it, because as soon as you did, it would be game over. After this sequence, I was taken abruptly to another dream, where I was coddling a child, probably myself or a son of sorts. I was telling him that he needed to do was keep his eyes closed, no matter how scary the monster seemed, and that no matter what, he'd be safe from anything as long as he did. But after just a few seconds, I'm suddenly awoken from my dream. I hear very loud and fast footsteps heading to me. I closed my eyes, still remembering my dream vividly, and suddenly I'm barraged by an extremely loud, blood-curdling scream of a woman. The scream would change direction, as I assumed the entity was doing something similar to what I saw in the video, floating around, as a way to overwhelm me. This continued for several minutes. The screams never lowered. But after those minutes passed, I fell asleep again, and woke up normally. I was so relieved that everything was simply a dream. As I woke up fairly shaken up, I was more awake than I had been in several months. But I, again, was glad that nothing I had experienced was real. But my mood changed a little when I started feeling itchy. I looked at my abdomen and noticed huge claw marks on me. As soon as I noticed them, my nerves kicked in and I started to feel a world of pain. It did stop after half an hour, but fortunately, none of this interfered in my sleep, and since then, I haven't had any issues with sleep paralysis or EHS. I can assume and reassure myself that it was simply a dream. But those claw marks tell me a different story.